Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Bee's Knees. I'm here today with Zeigler.
Hey, everybody.
And Jaymi.
Hello.
Again, as always.
I'm always here.
The one and only.
I can't help myself.
And that's okay. I'm happy to have you here.
Oh.
Today, we're going to be talking about Marvel versus DC.
Yes.
The age-old debate. And it's a little bit biased because me and Jaymi are both pro DC, but I am
Easily swayable.
I'm more of a casual fan. Like, I just kind of like watch some of the movies of each side. I just so happen to like the DC movies a lot better.
And that's fair, and I think you're right for that. Sometimes. If we're talking about, because I know you're talking about animated ones, I agree with you there.
I'm an animated girly. What can I say?
And you're right for that.
But, all right. We were going to talk about comic books first, but now we start about animated.
Okay.
All right. We talk about good animated
fine.
movies. Spider-Verse.
Oh,
You guys have two.
I love
You guys got two.
Spider-Verse.
But we don't really have many animated movies, period.
You do. They're just not good. I've seen a lot of them on Disney Plus. They're just not good.
On Disney Plus. They're only on... That means... I'm talking about theater. Like,
Well, yeah. We don't get
also, DC, they go straight to DVD and VHS.
I'll say we don't get a crazy amount of theater releases. We get every now and then. But
You're animated? No.
Yeah, I'm talking about our animated. We don't get a crazy amount of
So it's
theater
like
releases.
things that
Neither do you.
go straight to DVD, yeah, but actual ones that make blockbuster as animated,
I mean,
sure.
You guys got two over us.
two over you.
Last DC movie, animated movie that got released in theaters.
Well, what is it? The most recent, I forget the name of the most recent Batman movie. That one did have a theater release, like a theatrical release. It just wasn't that advertised.
Was it a limited release or was it a full release?
To my knowledge, it was a full release.
Okay.
Like I don't.
But see that you don't even know the name of it means that it wasn't that impressive.
I didn't watch it.
As the DC fan,
I didn't watch it.
I don't even know what it was
because I didn't hear about it until after it came out. It came out like last year. Until after it came out, I just know that it did get a full release.
It must not have been that good.
It has like a 76 on Rotten Tomatoes. That's like.
But when you have 76 people watch it, it's not safe.
Okay. Let's back up. Let's back up.
Let's go talk about comics.
Well,
Because look, actually no, I said let's back up.
Too late. He's done.
Look, I've seen a couple of Marvel animated movies. If you asked me to tell you what happens in any of them, could not. I've seen Iron Man vs. Hulk. Don't know a single thing that happens in that movie other
I
than
didn't
Iron
know
Man.
that was a movie.
Yep, it definitely was. I've seen it. Do I remember a single thing about it? Nope. Super forgettable. That's all of Marvel.
You don't even
stuff.
know the name of the last Batman movie that went out.
I didn't watch it.
Oh, you see?
I didn't watch it.
But you did watch the Marvel one though, so it at least got you to watch it.
I watched
but
it because I was excited. I was hoping that it was gonna be good. It wasn't.
Oh, so you weren't even hoping the DC one was good because it wasn't worth actually even caring about?
I also heard about it like last week. I haven't had time to watch movies recently. Okay?
So it's been out for a whole year out of theaters, and you still haven't heard about it? That's just sad.
Can you name more than 3 Marvel animated movies? Can you name any other than Iron Man and Hulk? Iron Man vs. Hulk.
Spider-Verse has 2. We already established that.
Not including
Excluding
Spider-Verse.
those because those-
Why are we excluding those?
Because those, I feel like, are a thing of their own.
That feels like a cheat.
That
It feels like a cheat to use
Why?
Spider-Verse.
Because
I
it
feel-
disproves all your... Because it literally stands up against you?
No, because
Yes.
they're so. I feel like they're just so separated from everything else Marvel.
Yeah.
It's the most
Vibes-wise.
Spider-Man Marvel thing ever.
Vibes-wise.
It is the most comic booky movie out there.
And yeah,
It's comic booky. It isn't.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so none of your DC movies like actually connect at all that way then.
That is not true at all.
Your animated ones like that? But it's like you're saying like, oh, it's completely outside of it.
Okay. Including Spider-Verse, name 3.
So Spider-Verse has 2 alone. Hulk has Avengers vs. Hulk is a third one.
Did that-
Phineas and Ferb Marvel crossover.
I knew you
is
were
a
going to pull
movie.
that. I knew you were going to pull that. I knew you were going to pull the Phineas and Ferb Marvel crossover. And we've talked about
That
this.
one
It is really good.
definitely-
It's one of Marvel's. But the thing is, it's the fact that it's one of Marvel's best animated things is
But there's
really
a lot of
funny to me.
TV shows.
They have a lot of TV
They
shows.
have a lot of
I can
animated
name,
shows.
I think like 4 or 5 of the TV
Yeah,
shows.
there's a lot of animated
That's
shows.
The issue, in my opinion, with the Marvel TV shows is that I can only really name
there?
like one really like deep, like
Spectacular
really good
Spider-Man.
Spectacular Spider-Man.
yeah. I've been watching that.
That's really the one
not
I can name that
legally.
I really like.
I mean,
Like, there's
we
Ultimate
can do
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man and Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man.
Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man.
Yeah.
There was the Earth's Mightiest Heroes.
There's My Heroes. I'm letting him name it.
In
It's
my
really
head,
funny.
I said Ben 10 like it's.
Ben 10. Might as well be.
Ben 10 might as well be.
Might as well be.
Might as well
Earth's Mightiest
be.
Heroes. Like that did happen.
Yeah. But you also, what's the kids one? I just forgot. Where Web,
Spidey and Friends. I
Spidey
think.
and Friends. Yeah,
I know that because Ian bought me a comic of it for some reason.
Yeah, but there you go. That's another one. That's
They
super
exist.
popular.
It is popular. They exist. I'll give them that.
They're a lot kiddier.
The thing is, you can be kiddie while still being like quality.
But Marvel's kiddie stuff is quality. Like Phase for Marvel is so kiddie.
It is.
But
It is.
almost everyone.
But also,
see,
I feel like
name a kids show that isn't pretty much forgettable or mashed together. Period.
You're putting me on the spot here.
Period?
Yeah, like a kid's show, a kid-centric AIM thing that doesn't kind of squish together or like plotline kind of is either really predictable or really simple, but kids just eat it up.
Gravity Falls.
I was gonna say Gravity Falls.
But that's not necessarily a kid's show.
Sure it is. I watched it when I was a kid. It aired on
Phineas and
Disney,
Ferb.
not Disney Junior, but like
was- I
Disney.
think just
during
Disney.
the time of day
Phineas
when
and
kids
Ferb, you
were
can pick
on.
any episode anywhere. and
Well, it's
just watch.
episodic, yeah.
It's very episodic.
If you're saying a kid
But-
show that isn't episodic, then there aren't a lot like that.
There aren't a lot.
I'll
yeah.
give you that.
And Marvel's really great at
Not
that.
episodic.
Yeah.
Like Marvel has really good at targeting kid audiences to watch their stuff.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of little kids lining up to go watch DC cartoons.
Because there aren't that many.
And
cartoon like
they're
shows.
targeting an audience
and
brilliantly.
The ones that exist are all for like teens and adults.
Well, no, the ones that exist, like they were decently for like younger, like they could be for younger
Teens.
audiences around the like preteen
they're
age.
aimed. They're
10
rated,
to 13.
They're rated at
10 to
that-
13.
that- yeah.
Yeah. But
Like what?
they just haven't. Well, there's the Batman animated series, obviously, and then
Oh,
all of those.
that's fair.
You have
but then there's also like
Batman, you
the
have
Batman,
the Batman.
Young
from
Justice.
2000, like
Young
12.
Justice.
Young Justice, I feel like
Justice.
is more teen.
That
You
one's
have,
more teen.
you
centric.
have
Teen Titans, both of them.
Yeah, Teen
and
Titans.
Teen Titans Go.
And Teen
hate
Titans Go.
Teen
I
Go,
love
but-
Teen Titans Go.
But I'm
I'm a
saying-
big defender.
But
of Teen
even
Titans
those
Go.
shows, to me, they kind of it melds together into one mosh podge of things that happen the same every time.
I mean,
I disagree. Have you ever watched like more than 6 episodes of Teen Titans Go?
In a row?
Yeah.
No. Overall, yes. I've seen all of it.
I used to sit down and watch Teen Titans Go, and it's not my show of choice.
I like
But
it in the
am
way of
I really entertained when it's on? Yes.
I think DC does a lot of episodics.
They
I'll
have
give you that.
episodes of that are good, but as a thing, it wasn't my thing. Also, it was after my time.
Fair. I grew up on Teen
And
Titans
that's
Go.
that. I grew up
well, I
for
did not
DC.
grow
I
up
grew
on
up on the
Teen Titans
Batman animated series, which y'all are probably finding too boring.
I do not find it boring
I
at all. I
actually
find the
haven't
Batman.
started.
But in
yet.
this-
Oh, you'd love it. Actually,
I
you probably
probably
would love it.
Now I think at this age, yes, because it's more story than action and shiny. It's dark, it's gritty,
And that's
it's very
what I
Western.
like.
I feel
Yeah.
like you would go from it to Clint Eastwood very easily. It's not a friendly neighborhood. It's not colorful. In this day and age, everything's got to be shiny.
It was pretty much the primary color of every episode was black.
Yeah.
Not just
Black,
including
dark
Batman, it was
blue.
just black, dark blue, and red.
Yeah. Or wait, yellow with the spotlights because
Or yellow the spotlights every now and then.
Every now and then.
But hey, the show
But that
is
made the characters
incredible.
pop out when you had a brightly green Poison Ivy or
Also, I know we're comparing cartoons right now. I to this day still think that that's probably the best like comic book show, either that or Justice League. I've mentioned how big of a fan I am of Justice League and Justice League Unlimited. If not those two shows, then Batman the Animated Series. But that's because those two
But
shows.
Batman
were-
animated series started.
Yeah,
so
that's what I'm
much.
saying. I'm
Just
gonna
like-
give it to Batman the Animated
yeah,
Series,
it's like-
and then a close second to Justice League. and
But
Justice League Unlimited.
nowadays, it doesn't hold up.
I don't agree with that because I watched it recently.
Viewership. You have so many more of the more colorful, like Spidey and his friends, and all that
Oh,
are going to have
sure,
so
but
much
that's
more
because
younger
more-
audience calling.
I guess
You're not getting the
It
young
was more of
audience.
its time.
It was very of its time.
But I still think it does still hold up as a.
It holds
as a
up to an
comic book
older
show.
generation,
Fair.
to like the 10 to 13. It's more older now.
There, but that is also
they're
because it
there
was
for
that's
more than it.
also because it was made 30 years ago and television was very different.
Correct. But in this new day and age, it doesn't hold up. It doesn't hold up. To
It's
the
a
young
show
audience.
that worked.
It holds up for people who like DC and like
I think it's a
Batman.
show that when I think of like this era of TV, I imagine this show. I know they weren't around the same time; it was a little bit later. But like this, Batman the Animated Series could premiere this like the slot right before like Fairly Odd Parents, like those early seasons of Fairly Odd Parents. I feel like those shows would work really well together.
Yeah.
Something like
They
that,
are
where it's
very
just
drastically different.
very drastically
by time.
different.
No, in time.
Oh yeah,
releases.
it was like a 10-year difference. Yeah, it was.
Like the last episode is 10 years older.
Yeah, I know, but like I'm saying that like of the late 90s to mid 2000s.
But I see so many kids these days going, nope, not shiny, not colorful.
It's a little sad.
But they're not in it for the story. Batman animated series, you had to have, it was very story driven,
It's very story driven.
like their comics.
Yeah.
which are hard to pick up and read if you're not into a very deep, wanting to get deep into a story. Where Marvel, you can pick up and read a Marvel. Their stories are easy and simple, unless you go into the multiverse. But you can pick up a Spider-Man. Read any Spider-Man. In one Spider-Man, normally there's a main villain and point.
Okay.
And you get through that, and yes, you can continue or go back in time with that. But they have great child level entry. And I say child level purposely because who's going to spend money long term? When were you hooked?
Was I hooked on comics?
On comics.
More recently, but as a
But
teen.
they're aiming now
Yes.
for younger. If I can get a younger kid into a younger series, you want to know who releases more kid friendly comics?
Between Marvel and DC? Marvel.
Marvel.
Yeah.
DC has one, pretty much. It has Scooby-Doo.
What?
Scooby-Doo and Batman crossover is the biggest selling kid comic. One, as a parent, I buy them. But Marvel has so many more to offer. Marvel throws out so many kid targeted comics because they get you into the characters, and that's what makes it so easy.
Okay, so Marvel is
better,
has better accessibility.
Accessibility
I'll give you that.
than
Has better
DC.
accessibility. I personally think
I
that
think
while
he has deeper stories.
I was gonna say I think DC has
But then
better
when you get into the
stories.
multiverse, the King in Black,
You've mentioned
was-
the King of Black. I know you're a big fan of the King of Black.
because that was one of the multiverse stories that I absolutely adored and was willing to go out and get all the other comics for a series that I don't care about. And when I wanted all that story, because that story was so, I loved how it worked. And I haven't liked something like that since the Civil War. Marvel Civil War.
Not the Civil War.
We're talking about Marvel here.
1860s.
Because I'm just a casual. He said the Civil War, and I was like,
Sorry,
what?
specify for those non-comic
Civil War.
No, I'm not that old.
But I did write down before this. I wrote down my top 5 favorite comics I've ever read.
Okay.
I
know you've always talked about Hush.
I've always talked about Batman Hush. It is not my favorite. I will give this. Marvel does have my number 1 favorite. However,
Ding, 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 ding.
That is the only Marvel comic on that list. Out of my
But you're
top
also,
5.
but see that.
But also, it's a bias because it was the first comic I ever read. It does.
Or what is it? Let's
It's
what is it?
Ultimate Spider-Man from 2000.
That's
Brian Michael Bendis. One of my favorite comics of all time. Probably my favorite comic of all time. But it also
even
was
if
the
that
first
wasn't
comic.
your first, I still think it would have been.
Probably. I'll agree with that. But then after that,
But still, you're number one. You're number one.
my number 1. They
is
have
a
one
Marvel.
story. They have
Well, no,
one story that I
because
think
you-
is better than the rest. However, when I
it
go
takes
down,
your number 1 slot.
I'm being fair. I'm being
So-
honest. But then I go down the list. My number 2 is Batman Hush. My number 3 is Superman Kingdom Come. My number 4 is Black Canary and Zatanna. And my number 5 is Blue and Gold.
Yeah.
So
That's pretty stacked. That's pretty stacked.
all DC, all also made in the past, except for Hush. No, Hush was made, 2000? 2003? So the past, within this
When it
century?
was released as a collection, I think, but I think it individually came out before that.
Probably. But all within the last 20 to 30 years of
But think about comic books, not barely 20 years ago.
still hold up, I think.
No. But people weren't. You were a nerd and no one liked you.
Yeah.
You were the person who was going to live in your parents' basement until you're 30, and your parents does your laundry and get you out of the house so you go to the comic book store.
I will say-
it was a stereotypical, you were not liked a lot.
I will say Marvel has normified being a comic fan, which I do appreciate.
Marvel, once again, did.
Well, actually, if you want to do that, if you want to,
Normalize?
I'll say Marvel normalized it,
Normalized.
but I don't think Marvel would have. I don't think we would have comic book movies as they are today without Batman '89. That movie to me is probably the most influential comic book movie ever.
Because of its origin, because of it was one. It was the first.
Exactly. The top
But
two
the sequels after that almost killed it.
almost didn't because
How many years did it take for DC to recover from that fiasco?
I mean,
I've never watched Batman 89.
oh, you'd love it. Probably.
But also think of the talent that got to play it at that time.
Who?
Biggest name.
Michael Keaton was Bruce Wayne. Birdman. Who else? The Vulture from Spider-Man.
Oh.
Yeah, he was Batman, and he sold it surprisingly well. Jack Nicholson as the Joker.
Jack Nicholson as
that's
the
my favorite Joker. That's my favorite Joker portrayal.
So the two of those alone sold.
Yes.
People went to that movie because those two were in it. Period.
Fair enough. Michael Keaton and Jack Nicholson sold that movie, and they did incredibly well in it too.
And they set the norm for all those characters.
Yeah, and then even then,
but then it fell apart with the sequel.
Even then,
and went downhill
because it was Batman Returns after, right?
Yeah, and then Batman and Robin.
Batman Returns is still a pretty solid movie in my opinion. Michelle Pfeiffer as Catwoman was pretty good. Danny DeVito's Penguin was pretty good. I think that movie was still Look, people think Danny DeVito's
Adam
funny.
West Batman was better than that.
People think. Hey, put some respect on Adam West Batman. I did in my.
All right, Robin.
I had
the Batmobile.
In my brain like my rankings of all the live action Jokers, and I was like, Cesar Romero's probably my number 2. I love Cesar Romero's portrayal as Joker. I'm a big Batman '60s fan.
I couldn't tell.
Literally
sells that '60s vibe.
Love the Batman '60s aesthetic, everything about it. Anyways, like those movies, the first two I think are pretty good. Batman and Robin.
And Batman Forever.
Batman Forever is silly. It is so silly.
It makes Fantastic Four look amazing.
A little too much for Batman, but it's silly in a way of looking back now. I can enjoy the movie for it just like being balls to the walls insane. It did not. So ridiculous. It took like Two-Face and made him this like
Arnold
jokey.
Schwarzenegger.
No, that was Batman and Robin.
That was Batman and Robin. Sorry,
Arnold was Mr. Freeze.
Mr. Freeze.
But they took Tommy Lee Jones from Men in Black and made him Two-Face. And
that's right.
Iconically, Jim Carrey as the Riddler during his prime.
I'm
during his prime.
That was about his prime. Yeah, that was after Ace Ventura.
Yeah,
that was after Ventura.
Was it?
For sure. At least after Dumb and Dumber. I know that for a fact.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say his prime was directly post Ventura, because then he got The Mask, and I think Batman and Robin, and then I think Batman Forever, and then he did something else. I can't remember.
He's got Bruce Almighty,
and then Bruce Almighty came out a few years later.
That also put him on the map.
Yeah, we're getting sidetracked.
We are.
Comics.
I think DC, even when DC is at their lows, they're really harsh lows. Except for like very recently, I still find enjoyment.
I think
you find, but see, that's like
Marvel doesn't have that for me.
People find enjoyment off of horrible B sci-fi movies. So that's not saying
at least they're fun. When Marvel is bad, in my opinion, it's not even fun to watch.
I talked about how in 2020 I decided that I wanted to like watch all the Marvel movies, like in chronological order, and then I got the Thor, and I was like,
the first Thor movie isn't even that bad. It's just pretty
Ragnarok
boring.
Is better though.
Like,
obviously,
I haven't.
But like,
which is rare for the third movie. The third movie in it was better.
Was the best.
Was
still
the best.
Still to this day, after we had a fourth,
there's like Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
I agree. That movie's probably the best.
I mean,
I think that trilogy has a reverse order. Like I think it's 3, 2, 1 in my opinion. But anyways,
and even 1 is solid.
Even 1's pretty solid. But I think
I will say I love Guardians.
I love Guardians. And who directed it? James Gunn.
Yes.
And what is he directing now? What is he the director of now?
But it's not out yet.
Not out yet.
Doesn't
it's
count.
going to be.
Does it? It's not out yet.
Actually, yes. No, he did. We have Peacemaker and we had Suicide Squad.
Okay, Suicide Squad is not saying much.
Suicide Squad, the second Suicide Squad, was really good, and Peacemaker is incredible. Those were both his projects.
Is it Peacemaker or is it John Cena?
I mean, he sells the character of Peacemaker, but Peacemaker as a show is great.
He sells it. Without John Cena, that show, no one else would make that show popular.
Well, sure.
Well, yeah,
John Cena.
That's like being like, well, I can say like, oh, if Robert Downey Jr. was an Iron Man, then no one else can make Iron Man popular. Like, the casting was great, but when an actor is casted as something great, that's why.
But no, Suicide Squad, Peacemaker as his own was a spinoff of the Suicide Squad movie,
and I think the Suicide Squad movie was incredible. I loved it. It was when it came out one of my, I think, like top 3 favorite DC projects. When it first came out.
That's not saying much. Top 3 DC
and even
live action projects.
Even now, probably top 3, maybe top 4.
What beats it?
For me?
Yeah.
I probably Birds of Prey.
Birds of Prey. Okay. Now here's actually a better question. How many Marvel movies beat it?
I don't think that many.
Guardians of the Galaxy doesn't
Guardians
beat
of the Galaxy, I'll give the first 2. I think I'd rather watch Suicide Squad over Guardians of the Galaxy 1.
But 2 and 3 you would rather watch.
2 and 3 I'd probably rather watch on a given day.
Ragnarok you'd probably watch over it. That's a tough lineup. Age of Ultron would be a tough lineup.
I'm an Age of Ultron. Look. I've mentioned I defend Age of Ultron. If you ask me which one I want to watch, I'm watching Suicide Squad any day. I like Age of Ultron, but that's just because I had a personal connection with that movie. That movie is so fine. It is so passable. But what I was gonna say was, when Marvel is really bad, in my opinion, like Marvel's worst projects, I've mentioned Secret Invasion, Marvel. That's DC.
Oh, the Flash movie. We're talking about the bad movies.
We'll get to the Flash.
I want to talk about the bad modern movies.
When she talks about bad movies, what came up? The first thing in your head, Flash. Oh, wait, what is that? DC.
Oh, wait, but no, what's the one Marvel movie that just came out with
The Marvels?
God-awful CGI?
Oh, Thor, Love and Thunder.
Yeah.
That movie, that's one of the few bad ones that I...
Beetle had bad...
Okay,
you want to talk about...
Don't talk about Blue Beetle. Don't talk bad about Blue Beetle in front of me.
The story was great, but the CGI was not.
I disagree.
The issue with Blue Beetle was, even though, like, I think Blue Beetle's saving grace was the story and the acting.
It looked like watching a cutscene from a video game.
Don't lie.
Not a movie.
I think the acting alone and the story of Blue Beetle saved that movie.
Oh, hands down, yes, I agree.
It's a good movie.
But we're talking about, you said bad visually.
If the CGI was bad, I couldn't tell.
The Blue
I was
Beetle.
just too happy. I was having such a good time.
I've seen that movie now 3 times. I only on my 3rd time watching it that I start to realize maybe the CGI isn't that great, because the first 2 times, especially watching it in the theaters, I was too blown away. I was sucked into the movie. Marvel does not have that for me.
No, Marvel has
especially
never had that
recently. Thor: Love and Thunder. I walked out of the movie thinking this movie was not great. I was not sucked in. Was not invested.
Which sucks.
Thor: Love and Thunder wasn't good. Eternals, I've mentioned, is one of the most boring Marvel projects I've ever seen, and
But you actually get to see superpowers being used without being handicapped.
They're still boring.
Can we also talk about like the What If show?
What If has some like
that is episodes. Really good comic book.
My
What If
issue with
really good.
My issue with What If was, and it's Marvel does this with every show that they've ever done. The first 2 episodes of both seasons really got me. I liked it, and then after that, I didn't care anymore, except for 1 or 2 episodes later on that got me. For What If
2.
Yeah, I was gonna say What If it was the Happy Hogan episode. That one reeled me back in for season 2, but I didn't care for the rest of them. Loki, the finale, season 2 was
the Loki show. I started watching it, and I just got so bored that I stopped.
Which season?
Which season?
1.
What?
I'm going with Understanding.
I didn't make it to season 2.
But also, Loki.
And that's
it's a very heavy thought.
Loves Loki, like I.
But it's heavy
one of my
thought.
favorite characters.
It's heavy thought. It's very like Sherlock Holmes,
which is weird because I like movies and shows
and it gets
like
better, especially by season 2. It gets better.
Yeah, but the climax of the end of season 2 is worth it.
But the issue with, I've mentioned this, at least when DC has shows that aren't that great, they typically just stay the same quality. DC can be consistent. It's just sometimes the quality output isn't that great to begin with. For example, I've seen every episode of The Flash. That show doesn't drop off insanely like people were talking about. The first 3 seasons are fine, and then seasons 4 onward are just okay.
DC does a lot of, I'm going to call it safe.
Yeah, because it's the CW DC specifically.
They play it very safe. I think Gotham was the only outside the safe zone they've ever gone. And I think that's why they're fine. Nothing's breaking records. Nothing's pushing an envelope. Nothing's drawing it. Like, Marvel at least takes risks and makes really bad projects, but then makes really good ones.
That's fair.
Because they also let more people, like, there's some directors you like, and they get to experiment. DC, they don't. And they're very restricted on that. The only time they get away with that is they're animated. DC only allows for that for their anime. Their live action stuff, like Justice League, Wonder Woman 2. I mean,
but even then with
their
those
choice
movies,
for the Joker.
Yeah, and you know what's crazy? Sorry,
and they're bringing him back.
Are they? I don't believe
that.
Jared Leto's the Joker. I don't believe they're bringing him back.
I wanted you to not say his name. I was scared to ask.
But I'm like, you say they I'm sorry.
Justice League
hurt.
I don't believe that.
They're
so bad.
After everyone's clowned on him for his...
I don't believe they're bringing him back.
Clowned on him. How appropriate.
I
mean, Batman v Superman bored many audiences that didn't know what was going on.
Yeah, I'll give it that.
And
I don't think I watched it, but I also don't like Superman. He's
that
like my
makes me
Captain.
so upset. That makes me so
My
upset.
Captain America.
That makes me
I
so
don't like
upset.
Captain America either. They're boring.
I made a list also of my top 10 favorite superheroes, and I believe only 2 of them are Marvel superheroes.
Only one of mine is a Marvel superhero. It's Spider-Man.
Where is he on the list?
Probably like 2.
Probably like 2.
Yeah, it's like Nightwing and then Spider-Man and then like.
I have Spider-Man and
I bet
Daredevil on my
most of
list.
them are Robin characters.
I condensed all of them down to just like the one. I'll go through my list.
No,
I
I like Blue Beetle and Wally West's Flash.
Number 1 is Robin, Batman,
Yeah.
Spider-Man,
Yeah.
Nightwing, Green Arrow, Batgirl, any
So
of
it
them.
sounds like you're Batman only.
Well, let me finish.
Oh.
Batgirl,
Well.
Blue Beetle,
Okay,
Ted and Jaime,
Fine. Okay, we got 2.
So like 6.
Ted and Jaime, Superman,
Okay, 3.
The Flash, Wally West specifically,
4.
but I do like Barry Allen a lot, and Black Canary.
So your bottom of the list, your top of the list is all pretty much
Because I'm a Batman fan.
So you're a Batman fan, not necessarily a DC
I'm a
fan.
I am still a DC. I'm a DC fan, but I'm a
What other than the major
Teen Titans
superheroes? All right, let's talk about Condiment King.
Condiment. We keep on bringing up Condiment
my
King
God.
like DC doesn't have the big wheel.
DC has some of the.
You guys have.
the best.
You just said DC has the big wheel.
Yeah, I meant Marvel.
So-
You know what I meant?
DC
Marvel has the big
my
wheel.
favorite
Polka
villains
Dot
of
Man.
all time.
Polka Dot Man's cool. I don't care. Polka Dot Man is incredible. I
Weasel.
love.
Even
I-
their bad
I
villains
don't care.
are good just
Our
because of how funny
thing
they
is,
are.
we have silly villains. Even our bad
Exactly.
villains are silly villains.
Marvel has bad villains.
Sometimes they've had some really
They have
boring
some
villains.
really, they have some really good villains, I will say. But I
There are some
personally
villains
I
that are
think
incredibly
all right,
boring
here
to me.
here DC I think is
Interruption.
Oh, no.
Please quiet down to listen.
We're back.
so
Recap.
recap. 'cause we gotta-
Recap.
All right, so we're talking about
Villains.
villains.
Z says they're underdeveloped.
What villains have their own spin-offs or their own solo comics other than
Oh my God,
Batman?
Harley Quinn's not even like Harley Quinn's a Batman.
Other than Batman
Now-
or Lex Luthor?
What about
Before I say
Poison
anything,
Ivy?
I will give this Batman villain. Before I say anything, I will give this.
This tells me that
I
you are a
literally-
Batman
I
watcher
literally
only.
can't name a single. non-Batman
DC.
villain,
This is
I'm not
and this is a point against DC. Really, ever since the '89 Batman film, DC, both in the movies and comics, have been obsessed with Batman.
That's all they have, pretty
too.
much.
And it's not all. The
Me
thing is, they
too.
have
That's all
a
they mainly
wide-
focus on.
That's all they focus on,
happy.
and that
then
is an issue.
where
with-
Marvel will expand and try.
and that is an issue with DC. I will give them that.
Ding ding.
I'm not just because I
Guys,
can
you
point out
relinquished a point
Just
to
because
me.
I can I can point out issues
that's
in my
a
own
huge difference.
in my side doesn't mean that it's.
But that's a huge problem. Like
It is an issue. I agree. Now, however, let us not forget that every X-Men comic is, ever since the first X-Men movie, has been focused on Magneto. There are rarely times where people like Mr. Sinister or Apocalypse or any other
Apocalypse has
X-Men.
its own solo.
And it rarely gets issues. It rarely gets installments.
There's rarely an
he
X-Men
has
issue
it.
anyway.
They've been getting,
They
especially
started
now
up again, yes.
especially
because-
now.
Yeah, they're getting ready for a new movie. That's why.
Yeah. Well, actually, they did stop because of Deadpool 3. But
Yeah.
like they were getting X-Men comics for
All
a while.
right,
Anyways,
Deadpool or Suicide Squad because they're both
you
anti-hero
asking me?
grouping
if you're asking me which one
Yeah,
I
I'm
prefer,
asking.
comics or movies?
movies.
Movies,
Deadpool,
probably
or
Deadpool. Yeah,
because they're
but
pretty much comic-wise.
it hasn't come out yet. But we'll ask this question when it does come out. Thunderbolts or Suicide Squad? Because the Thunderbolts is Marvel Suicide Squad. When that movie comes out, we can ask that question.
That would be a straight one-to-one question. Yes,
We can ask that question when
But
that movie
you have
comes
that. He kind of does the same thing with his in Deadpool.
I mean, he's a hero for hire. He's a mercenary.
Yeah, but Deadpool 2, he forms his league of bad people.
Yeah, but also
to
those
go-
movies are just good. I do enjoy them, but they're less like when I'm talking about Marvel
a
movies. I call
wider
it
range of
MCU
people
movies.
will watch that
Yeah.
over any
Yeah,
other
I talk about
superhero
MCU,
movie.
and that's the only thing.
When we talk about Marvel movies, we talk about MCU movies. That movie is distinctly not an MCU movie.
We're talking about Marvel movies. I'm not saying it's got to be owned by Disney.
Well, that's what I was talking about.
Yeah. No, this is all together. So, all the way back to Spawn.
But also the issue is that Marvel just has more live action output.
do you know
than
who
DC.
Spawn is?
I hope you know who Spawn is.
No, that face.
Oh, you know
That's
who Spawn is. Ooh.
Do you know? All right, wait. Is it a DC or Marvel?
I couldn't tell you.
Oh, that hurts.
That hurts you a lot.
I love Spawn. Todd McFarlane, man.
I even gave you a
McFarlane.
point in your direction with an anti-hero movie
Todd
that came out.
McFarlane.
Who's
He's an anti-hero.
he's anti? Oh, okay. Oh my gosh.
Todd
But,
McFarlane.
but that's like like Venom or Spawn.
Attention teachers, your bingo
We're gonna
card.
pause.
We'll
for
do
love
one and
song
one.
Bingo. We're actually running out of time.
So let's wrap this
Yeah,
up.
we're gonna wrap this up. So
Witty little wrap up here.
Yes.
here's my honest wrap up.
Okay.
Marvel's better to jump into as a young viewer.
It's more accessible. I'll give
And
you that.
has a better flow, offers more variety to viewers because we've already they have a lot of content. DC's very Batman focused. DC though has a deeper, more story-driven that you can grow into.
Yeah.
I agree.
Or if you just like Batman, you're just a Batman fan, not a DC fan, which we've established.
I know. I said I don't know if I actually said, but I would have been sitting here as like the casual person stand-in. And I think as a casual fan, Marvel's actually a lot easier to get into.
It is.
But DC, I think, has a lot more to offer in terms of.
It is a
baller story.
yes. DC is a like it's you have to like grow into it pretty much. If I were to here's exactly what I'd say. If I had to start my child reading any comic ever, I'd start them on probably a Spider-Man comic. But if someone asked
Sonic.
me, okay, well, if between Marvel and DC, I'd start them on a Spider-Man comic. But if someone who had watched, say, every DCEU movie and every Marvel movie asked me what comic should I start, I'd probably say read something like Batgirls or even read any.
If someone's watched that much, you shouldn't have to tell them where to start.
No, there is a.
No.
I didn't know where to start for the longest time, but like I would tell them.
If you've watched all the movies, you'd probably pick who you liked the most. Like who do you like most? Batman. Batman. Read this story. Reading the Teen Titans comics. Read Year One or read The Dark Knight Returns or read. Actually, I have a list of Batman comics that I think everyone should read. Read Heart of Ice. Read the Heart of Ice adaptation. Any Spider-Man. Any Spider-Man is a great.
I'd say read Ultimate Spider-Man. That's just me, though.
Yes, but you could jump into any Spider-Man and be like, I personally love Miles Morales. I love the Clone Saga. The Clone Saga is so good to me.
If someone said, yeah, I love Miles Morales. Okay, read this comic. You can jump in right there.
Clone Saga.
But if someone said,
they'll be done.
If someone said, I like Batman a lot. I've watched all the Batman movies, but I want to start reading the comics. I don't know where to start. I said, okay, and I'd sit down with them, try to find their taste profile, and then set them on something.
I would do Next Batman. Because it's a short get through, and it doesn't mean that it's your Batman. Because the thing with Batman, you have a visualization of what you want Batman and your characters to be like. Because you've watched it, you've looked at it.
Yeah, but also any new characters that show up, I've got a lot more of an open mind.
Actually, I know exactly what I'd say. I'd say if someone wants to read a Batman comic, I'd tell them read the Long Halloween. Start with The Long Halloween. Jeff Loeb, it's probably my actual favorite comic writer of all time. Jeff Loeb. Super accessible Batman comic.
All right, my least favorite one all right, DC comic people go Killing Joke.
Don't start with Killing Joke.
But so many people go there, or that's the one they read.
Don't. It's a good comic. It's just
it's oversold.
It's oversold. But final thoughts.
What's yours? I gave mine.
Yes, my wrap up is if you want to get into comics and you don't know where to start with Marvel. I agree. If you're someone who does really like comics and doesn't know where to start, read The Long Halloween.
I can concur with that. Marvel's just a great place to pick up if you're looking for that.
Or read Tower of Babel.
Oh shoot! All right, we're out of time now, though. Now that you have your little recommendations. Okay, thank you everyone. So, I will hopefully see you on the next one.
Hey, it's been a blast. Enjoy comics.
Enjoy comics.